everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. I am Beth and I am back for your Monday afternoon show. First of all, happy Monday. I want to get everyone on a nice positive vibe. However, on today's Manchester United news show, what are the alternatives? What is the plan B when it comes to Manchester United midfield? We have to rebuild our midfield in the summer. I think every man and his dog knows that Manchester United needs a summer rebuild in terms of the midfield. Who's going to partner Kobbie Mainoo? Who's going to replace Casemiro? It is the topic that's on everyone's lips. However, Elliot Anderson and Tonali, Sandro Tonali, who are top options for most Manchester United fans and Manchester United themselves. Inside Manchester United, the scouts, the board, it seems like Elliot Anderson and Sandro Tonali are right at the top of the list when it comes to midfield targets. However, the news is coming out that Elliot Anderson looks like he's on his way to City. And there's another piece of news coming out from Dimarco. And I know people might say Dimarco isn't exactly top tier anymore. However, he is really good when it comes to Italy. Sandro Tonali, Italian, a lot of links to him back to Italy. He is talking about the most likely destination for Sandro Tonali being either Italy or Arsenal. So Manchester United need a plan B. Adam Wharton is right up there in the list for Manchester United. Wes Brown has been talking about him a little bit as well. We will talk about him. And also a name we keep getting linked to, Andrey Santos of Chelsea. And I know people keep ignoring it. It's like when you've got a leak in your house and you're just sort of hoping it's going to go away and you don't really get to it and you're thinking, oh, that'll stop in a bit, and it just keeps happening and happening and happening. Andrey Santos and Manchester United, there are links there. There is interest there. Ben Jacobs has spoken about it on the show previously. And in the summer, when we were negotiating with Chelsea for Alejandro Garnacho, well, Chelsea wanted Alejandro Garnacho. Thank you. And we were negotiating that deal. They didn't really want to pay 40 million. We were very interested in Andrey Santos. He was included in the negotiations, but Chelsea didn't really want to do that deal so early on. He is young. There is room for development. However, if we're talking about replacing Casemiro, Andrey Santos isn't going to cut it, in my opinion. I think there is potential there. And when I see him, some games I watch and I'm like, I actually think there is a lot of potential there, but we need players that are ready now. And I don't think he fits the bill of an Elliot Anderson or a Sandro Tonali, because that's the calibre of player that Manchester United need to get in. Now, if Sandro Tonali is going to go to Arsenal or going to go to Italy and Elliot Anderson is going to go to Manchester City, what is Manchester United's plan B? And if it is Andrey Santos, that isn't going to cut it. We're going to get into it. Adam Wharton, I'm warming up to the idea. I spoke about Adam Wharton on the show a few times, and if you guys tune into my 2 PMs or tune into my shows, hopefully you do, you'll know I rate Adam Wharton as a player. I think as a player, he's absolutely top. Do I think he's the best partner to Kobbie Mainoo? I don't think there's enough physicality there, right? However, Wes Brown has been saying the opposite, and I want to listen to Wes Brown because he knows what it takes to play for Manchester United and he has a lot of insight. So get in your comments. Who would you go for if it isn't Elliot Anderson, if it isn't Sandro Tonali? And let's get into all the latest Manchester United news. We've got a lot of different things to bring in. And also there's a little bit on the pre-season games, a bit of an update on that I'll bring in. Update on Baleba, some more midfield options, and Man United in the race for a left-back this summer. We will go for a full-back, whether it be a right-back or a left-back or both. Liverpool are entering the market for a left-back as well. So in a pool where I don't think there's that many options, I want to be glass half full on this Monday, but sometimes it is a little bit difficult. There's not too many top left-back options out there. If Liverpool are in the market as well, that means we're in direct competition with Liverpool. And just this morning and early afternoon, they have been linked with Anthony Robertson from Fulham, really good left back, and Dimarco as well, playing over in Italy, but apparently he's on the hunt for a Premier League move. Both players I would happily have at Manchester United. So there might be a little bit of a race when it comes to a left back in the summer. But get your comments in, get your likes in, and as well, if there's any polls you want me to run, get them in the comments. And if there's any questions you have, put them in the comments. Let's get interactive. I also have a little bit of a fun interactive segment planned for the end of the show, so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about winning the Premier League, not maybe in that context, but you'll see when we get to the end of the show. But let's get on to the news. I mean, first and foremost, with it looking like we're going to miss out on Elliot Anderson, which I'm just hoping it's not true, but a lot of me is feeling like it is going to be true. Look, Fabrizio Romano, Ben Jacobs, David Ornstein aren't currently reporting that Elliot Anderson to Manchester City is a done deal. That is happening because these names in the industry, these top tier journalists, right? That is a big, big, big story to hang your hat on this early in the summer. They are big reputations. If somehow there is a U-turn in the Elliot Anderson deal, if somehow Manchester United do manage to turn Elliot Anderson's head away from Manchester City, if Chelsea somehow enter the race and put massive money on the table, their reputations is on the line. However, I don't think there's any smoke without fire, and a lot of other reports, a lot of other journalists, and in the industry, it's quite well known, and it's being murmured that Elliot Anderson is practically agreed terms with Manchester City. That is what I hear near enough every day. Look, I'm not saying I have A-star sources, nothing like that. But I do feel like there is no smoke without fire, and it'd be very, very early and not in the best interest of Elliot Anderson, not in the best interest of Manchester City, and not in the best interest of Nottingham Forest for them A-star, top-tier journalists to start saying Elliot Anderson to Man City is basically done. It doesn't favour anybody. So do I think it is a done deal? No. Do I think it's very likely to be a done deal ASAP in the summer? Yes. And I'm starting to come to terms with the fact that Manchester United might not get Elliot Anderson. He is our top target. Whether we'll be able to compete with Manchester City for him is yet to be seen. The rumours is it's basically a done deal. And that is so unfortunate, because I genuinely do feel like he is a huge swinging doors moment for Manchester United, a sliding doors moment. And missing out on him when we've got a midfield to rebuild, and when he was, that player that we thought we were going to build our midfield around for like the next decade, that is unfortunate. But this is where Manchester United are at now. You're not always guaranteed to win a transfer race with Manchester City. They beat us to Semenyo. They might beat us to other targets as well. I mean, apparently they're on the brink of signing Tino Livramento, and if you've watched my shows before, you'll know I think he's an absolutely top-tier fullback that Manchester United should have been in for. He can play on the left, he can play on the right. Very, very versatile. He's excellent going forward, but wingers tend to not get much change out of him going backwards. He is an absolute all-rounder, top-level fullback, and yes, he's had some injury concerns, but we should be in there. We should be in there for that kind of player. But Man City are just anyone who's Premier League proven and looks like a top-level talent. City are there and they're on it. And that is unfortunate for us, because the fact that Man City are winning transfer battles over us, it's not a good look. And we need to make sure that in this market we get this midfield rebuild absolutely right. And if our top target's going for Manchester City, it's a little bit unfortunate in that aspect. But just in terms of Elliot Anderson, by the way, he's just an absolute monster. Possession won in the Premier League this season. I mean, it's not over till it's over. Man United could still get this deal done, and I think in early March, Manchester United should be throwing everything but at the kitchen sink at getting this deal done, because this is what Elliot Anderson is doing in the Premier League. So, this is just a few stats. Most possession won in the Premier League. Out of the whole of the Premier League, the player with the most possession won, on 243 times he has won possession. And just to put this in context of the top 10, number 2 is João Gomes at Wolves, but he's on 158. Number 3 is Andrey at Wolves on 157. Number 4 is Declan Rice at Arsenal on 150. Number 5 is Truffer, 149. Number 6 is James Garner on 145. I mean, and then right down the bottom, you've got in number 10 spot Matues Fernandes, who I have also been a big fan of at West Ham. He's on 139. But if you look in the difference between João Gomes, who's in second place, who I know quite a few Manchester United fans fancy Manchester United to go for João Gomes. I'm not 100% sold, but he's second on 158. Elliot Anderson is a monster on all aspects, 243. He's miles ahead in the whole of the Premier League. He's also got the most duels won in the Premier League this season with 239. Most fouls won as well, and you could say that could be a pro and it could be a con, but he's always in there. He gets everywhere on the pitch. He's that physical monster that Manchester United require, and it looks like we're going to lose out on him. So who do you pivot to next? Is it going to be Baleba? Well, there's been some news about him. Is it going to be Adam Wharton? Is he physical enough? Is it going to be Andrey Santos? I mean, who would you want to go for? I actually think we should run a poll in the chat of a few other names that we are linked to and see which one you guys would rather go for. So I'm just going to get some names going. What names would you like me to put in the poll? Get in the comments what names would you want me to put in the poll. I think João Gomes will probably be one of them. That's going to go in the poll. Adam Wharton will probably be one of them. Carlos Baleba will probably be one of them. And then on the fourth option, let's go with Andrey Santos, who is a name that Manchester United keep getting linked to see what you guys think about that. I'm pretty sure I know what the reaction is going to be. Everlasting says, I'm proper gutted at the news of who the hierarchy are interested in. I am gutted. Not Baleba, says Ahmad. We have David Campbell saying, we are not winning the league until the Glazers go. There is no standards. I mean, to be honest, look, I'm not making excuses for Manchester United and not getting these top targets that should, I feel like, be Manchester United players. I mean, the fact that City might consistently be beating us to targets, it makes me so frustrated and it makes me upset. But this is what happens when you get to this point, right? This is what happens when over season upon season upon season, you are cementing Manchester United not being at the top of world football, because we've fallen a lot lower than what our previous reputation is. And there's only so long that you can rely on history. When Manchester United haven't been winning, and we've won cups along the way, we've won FA Cups, we've won League Cups, we've won the Europa League under Mourinho, but that was a long time ago now. We're in 2026, that was 2017 if I'm not wrong. So when you've not been winning the big elite titles for a long period of time, and unfortunately Manchester City have been consistently winning titles, consistently winning the biggest trophies, and they have arguably the best manager in world football. Depending on if he stays, we don't know, there's rumours he might leave. It's going to get more difficult for you to secure your top targets. And even Arsenal now, when we talk about Sandro Tonali, I would absolutely love him at Manchester United. I would have preferred Elliot Anderson. I mean, I look like a right joker. I'm sat here on the show last week saying, if I had to pick between Anderson and Tonali, I mean, Tonali's a great player, but I'd probably go with Anderson. We might not get either of them. Because Anderson might go to City and Sandro Tonali might go to Arsenal. And they're two top targets in a midfield rebuild that we're absolutely desperate for. And then you talk about Bruno Guimaraes. There's no way that Newcastle let both Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes go, so that puts him out of the question as well. So I'm sat here debating which one I'd rather out of Elliot Anderson or Tonali. I'd be lucky to get one. They might both go to our rivals. And I mean, do you remember when we're at that point in time where I couldn't dream of Arsenal being able to secure a player over Manchester United? I mean, the thought of Arsenal being able to sign a player over Manchester United, it didn't compute to me. But that actually might be the case now, because they have built up this reputation. Okay, they've not got over the line yet. They've not gone and won. They've not gone and won that Champions League. They've not gone and won that Premier League. They might do this season. They've got a very good chance. But they're very, very close, and they're building something, and you've got a project that you can sell to a player. What project has Manchester United got to sell to a player? And that's what I want Ineos and the board and Manchester United to make clear, not only to the players that we're trying to sell to in the summer, but also to the fans. Because we had a very, very good summer last summer. We got Cunha in, we got Mbeumo in, we got Lamens in, we got Benjamin Sesko in. And overall, that looks like 4 out of 4 signings. I still think there's loads more to come from every single one of them in different ways, by the way. But with Cunha, you relied on the history of Manchester United, of him loving Manchester United growing up. The same with Mbeumo. Same with Sesko. And Lamens was a really good signing that nobody really saw coming, that you really relied upon your scouting for. We might not be as lucky this summer when you're going for elite players. And we are shopping in the right direction, by the way, because you should want players that other clubs want. Like, it's a good thing that Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool all want the players that we want to go for in the summer. That is a good thing. That means that you're getting players that are well scouted and good quality players that are ready to come and compete in your side. But when you're competing with them sort of teams that have been more successful for you than you in recent years, which is, I mean, you've just got to call a spade a spade. We're United fans, you don't like to say it, but when you're competing with them sort of sides, there's only so long where Manchester United holds up. You've got to have a manager in place to sell the project. You've got to show a player where you're going, and we've got to get Champions League football. So It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very, very tough. But who would be your other alternatives? Thankfully, there is quite a lot of good midfield options out there. But missing out on Elliot Anderson, missing out on Tonali, it would be absolutely massive. When it comes to Tonali, this is exactly what Dimarco has been saying. Arsenal is the most likely destination for Tonali in the Premier League. They are really interested in him. And do remember that there was that story that was thrown out there by Tonali's agent, I think it was, in the January transfer window about Arsenal going for Tonali in January. So there's absolutely something there on that one. He's also said this, Dimarco: I am not sure if he wants to stay in the Premier League. He might want to go back to Italy. We've heard through Ben Jacobs multiple times that Tonali fancies going back to Italy. I think he misses Italy, but the Premier League is a top league, so he has to decide what he wants to do. It also depends on who can afford him, because it will be difficult for Juventus to pay the price, and they have to qualify for Champions League, otherwise they will not have the money to buy him. But if he leaves Newcastle and wants to stay in the Premier League, Arsenal for sure is the most likely destination. But he does really like Serie A, and I think he wants to play in Serie A again. He also has a child, so even if he stays in the Premier League, it might not be for more than 2 or 3 years. I think he wants to show the Italian fans how good he is, probably being the best Italian midfielder. So that absolutely lines up with what we've heard about Sandro Tonali already. Sandro Tonali does fancy moving back to Italy. He's Italian. He probably wants to bring up his kids there. And although the Premier League is, in my opinion, by far the best league in the world, and I know it gets some criticism this season for being, a little bit rigid, not having as much flair, but I think it is the most competitive league in the world by a country mile, personally. Players have other things that they think about as well. And Serie A is still a good league. He'd love to go back there. Dimarco is not quite up there with the best of the best in terms of sources as of now. He had an amazing summer under Mourinho. However, he always is good when it comes to Italian players. And Sandro Tonali is Italian. So when he says that Arsenal's the most likely destination in the Premier League, I believe that. And when he's been linked to Italy in the past, I have always thought to myself, well, what Italian club is going to be able to pay for him? Newcastle are going to want from 80 to 100 million for Sandro Tonali. What Italian club is going to be able to put that on the table? So I actually probably don't see him going back to Italy, unless Newcastle do a cut price deal, which I very much doubt they're going to do. So I could see Arsenal going in there for him. I really could see that happening, especially, if Arsenal go and win this year, they have a good chance of winning the Champions League, also the Premier League. I could see them going in for Tonali. So in regards to getting Tonali, doesn't look great. I mean, he's barely even mentioned with Manchester United, apart from the brief that was put out that Man United like him, but it doesn't feel like there's any reciprocation in that. And when it comes to Elliot Anderson, it is looking more and more likely he's going to sign for Manchester City. And this is where Andrey Santos comes into play. So this is what is coming out via Brazilian sources about Andrey Santos. Bear in mind, Andrey Santos is Brazilian, so this kind of links up. United are reportedly lining up a shock move for the Chelsea midfielder at the end of the season. The 21-year-old is seen as a key part of United's plans to overhaul their midfield in the summer. And remember, we were in for him when we were negotiating the Garnacho deal in the summer of 2025. Manchester United are interested in signing Andrey Santos. He is well regarded at Chelsea, but he is not considered untouchable. With Casemiro expected to leave, Santos is seen as a potential long-term replacement in the midfield, offering upside and prior European experience. Juventus are also monitoring his situation ahead of the summer window. Chelsea could be open to offers if a suitable proposal arrives, with his market value estimated at around 34 million. So, in regards to the price tag of 34 million, I still think it's heavy for what he's done so far in his career. And in regards of him being a Casemiro replacement, he's not a Casemiro replacement yet. At the age and the levels of experience he's had and where he's at, he's not a Casemiro replacement. If we were going to go and get Andrey Santos, for me, it would be as an extra midfielder if we had some money left to spend on deepening our squad depth. He's not a midfielder that you bring in as your Casemiro replacement. He's just not. And like I said, I think he gets a bit of a hard rap whenever he gets linked to Manchester United. There seems to be a lot of people saying, no, Chelsea reject, absolutely not. I actually do think there is a lot of promising aspects to his game, and I think there's a lot of potential there, but he's nowhere near ready to step up and be the Casemiro replacement for Manchester United in a huge summer midfield rebuild when we're wanting to build like a solid top level, top quality Premier League midfield. He's just not. So if it was to deepen a squad at the end of the window with a bit of extra money, I'd be open to it. But he's not someone that I'd be anywhere near the top of my list. He wouldn't even be in my top 5 midfielders to bring into Manchester United in the summer. I mean, get voting in the poll. Who would you want to sign out of them players? I'm just going to have my little vote here. So out of the 4 that we've got in the chat, we have 5% going with Andrey Santos, 12% with Baleba, 66% with Adam Wharton, and 18% on João Gomez. I mean, I'll just give you my overall thoughts on them. Andrey Santos, like I said, I've just spoke about him, so I won't go over it. If we had a bit of money left to deepen the squad, I'd be open to it, but he wouldn't be on my list. Baleba is just a massive risk. Baleba goes one of 2 ways. You either take the risk and sign him and pray to God you get the Baleba that you saw last season when Brighton were a much better Premier League side than what they are this season, in my opinion, when he was doing absolutely fantastically, when he was running the show in that game against Man City, where you could really see the potential for him to be the next sort of Caicedo. And you get that Baleba and you manage to pull that out of him with that move, or you spend the money and you get the Baleba that he's actually been dropped from the Brighton team this season. He's not performing well at all. And a lot of sources from close to him say that the not getting the Manchester United move at such a young age affected him. That worries me. It worries me massively, because if you're that easily affected, and I understand why that would be, you know, it could affect you. You know, it's a big pay increase. It's a big move. It's probably a dream move. And you know, it is going to affect you a little bit, but I'm talking about for a week or 2 weeks. I'm not talking for the whole season. So it worries me if a player can't get over that, what's going to happen when they're under the spotlight and the magnifying glass of being a Manchester United player? How are you mentally going to deal with that? Because you have to have such a strong mentality to be a Manchester United player. You're either the most loved player in the world or one of the most criticised. It goes from week to week. That's what being a Manchester United player is. You're always going to have the spotlight on you. So I worry about Baleba. Last summer, I will hold my hands up. I really wanted him. I wanted Manchester United to go and spend the money on him. Can you blame me? Go and watch Baleba last season. He was fantastic. And I truly do believe a player doesn't just turn bad overnight. That doesn't happen. I mean, things have happened in that Brighton team, which I think has affected his performance a little bit, but I don't really want to make excuses. It would be a huge risk signing. And I've said this multiple times. When it comes to rebuilding Manchester United's midfield, I don't think Man United can afford to take risks, especially when it comes to the main midfielder that you're bringing in to be a Casemiro replacement. You can't afford to take risks. And that's another reason why I'm not against signing outside the Premier League. I'm not against it, but I would prefer Premier League proven signings because they've got a better chance of working. They have. They've got a better chance of working. We've seen that happen. Man City love to do it. Arsenal love to do it. Liverpool love to do it. All teams that have been successful in recent times in the Premier League proven signings have a better chance of adapting quicker. That doesn't mean that you can't go outside the Premier League and be successful. I mean, Liverpool, when they were rebuilding their midfield, they went and got Gravenberch, they went and got Szoboszlai, they went and got McAllister. McAllister was from inside the Premier League, but Szoboszlai and Gravenberch, they weren't. And to be fair, Gravenberch probably took a season to get into it. Szoboszlai came in and I thought straight away looked pretty good. So you can do it, but it's all about keeping the risk low and keeping the quality high when it comes to Manchester United's midfield rebuild. So with Baleba, I'd be on the fence about it just because of the risk that it has. Wharton, like I said, I think he's a top quality player, but I think if you're having a midfield pivot of Wharton and Kobbie Mainoo, I do worry about the physicality side of the game. I like him, but I think he's just a better version of Ugarte. And I don't think he's at the level that Manchester United require to be that starting midfielder. I don't think he is. I think he'd be a good squad player. But I think he's just an Ugarte improvement, if I'm being honest. I do like him, but it's not, wow, this is the guy we're going to build our midfield around for the next 5 years. I just don't get that with him. And I've watched Wolves quite a lot this season. And I do think he's absolutely got something. And I think he'd be a good squad player, but he's not someone I would fully go and rebuild our midfield with. So, as a starter. So it's difficult. It is difficult for Manchester United. There's options out there. A few people have talked about Angelo Stiller. Again, I think he's more of a dictator, number 8. I wouldn't say he's that. We need someone like an Elliot Anderson that can do everything. He's a bully. He can go and win your tackles. He can go and win possession. He gets around the pitch. He also looks forward. He's got a pass in him. He has got a goal in him. I know a lot of people said he needs to improve on the attacking side of the game if he's going to take that step up to Manchester United. I actually do think he's got a goal in him and he can do work going forward. He's got a great pass in him. He's got everything. We need a midfielder like that. And they are hard to come by. And Manchester United have got big decisions to make come the summer. Daniel Thompson is in with a super chat. Hi, Beth and the United stand. Hope you're well and having a good day. I'd love to get Tonali and Anderson, although looking unlikely. We need the best to compete with the best. I'd avoid Baleba, can't be taking risks. Bruno G, Wharton, still are good options. I still stick by my midfield three. Elliot Anderson, you know, it's not over till it's over. Go and get him off Manchester City. Go and do something to get that deal over the line. If we have Champions League football, go and get a good manager, a good project to present to him and go and get him. Bruno Guimaraes, go and try and sign him before Arsenal get in there for Tonali. Get that deal over the line because you can get him. People say, oh, Newcastle are never going to let Bruno Guimaraes go. Newcastle, if they don't get European football, will have to sell one of them. If you get in there quickly, Bruno Guimaraes, as much as Newcastle fans won't like to admit it, he would be open to another Premier League move. It's been reported by top-tier journalists. You can go and get him if the price is right. Go and get him before Tonali goes to Arsenal. And then Matues Fernandes of West Ham, I really like as that third option. Or even a João Gomez, but I think Matues Fernandes has way more potential and a higher ceiling than João Gomez, in my opinion, and more attacking output as well. Interesting. Makelke Francis says Matues Fernandes is similar to Anderson and cheap. Matues Fernandes, I'd absolutely go for. Cheap might not be the right word. Cheaper, absolutely. West Ham did buy him for, I think, around 42, 43 million from Southampton. It was a big spend for them. And if they go down, they're not just going to say, have anyone you want for a cut price. They will have to sell some players. And I do think you can go and get Matues Fernandes, but you're probably still looking at around that 45 million mark if you do want him. But I think it's well worth it for a 21-year-old that I think is already Premier League proven and has a lot of quality. So I'd go in there. Amit says, if not Anderson, Tonali, Stiller, then we better get Wharton or Gomez or Anana. Our dream signings will become City's generational build and the cycle repeats. JMR says, Liverpool are also in talks with Lewis Hall. Where have you seen that news? I've not seen that come out at all. If that's new, someone let me know. But unless you've got some sort of inside source, GMR, that'd be an absolute, kind of scoop there if you've got that from somewhere. But I've not seen the Lewis Hall and Liverpool links. And honestly, I don't think Lewis Hall will leave Newcastle this summer. When I've spoke to Ben Jacobs, if you tune into the Ben Jacobs show, he basically says Newcastle do not want to sell Lewis Hall at all costs. So I think it'd be difficult to get Lewis Hall out of Newcastle. But never say never. Never say never. Also, just a little bit more news on the midfield. The Athletic are saying that players such as Lucien Agoumé and Carlos Baleba have been identified as key targets. I know a lot of people really like Agoumé. I've not seen as much of him to say absolutely go and get him. But Andy Mitten also did hint to players playing in La Liga that Manchester United have looked at and targeted that would be shocked at. So Agoumé could be one of them. I know Tony from the Fans Forum really likes him. Look, if he's got quality and you can get him at a good price, explore the deal. Explore the deal. But like I said, for me personally, I'm going to really, when I'm talking about midfielders that I want, I'm going to be talking about players that I'm watching on a regular basis so I can have a full comment on it. But I've heard very good things about Lucien Agoumé from people that do watch him regularly. Also, you've got transferfeed.com saying Manchester United continue to monitor Alex Scott's development closely ahead of a potential move. Alex Scott is very interesting, got a lot of potential. I think it might be a little bit early to go there. I think he probably needs another season or so, but he's definitely one to watch for sure. Definitely one to watch. But like I said, I feel like we need players for the absolute now to come in. Thank you everyone for getting your comments in, getting your likes in as well. Smash a like on the video if you haven't already. Just moving on to the left back section of the show a little bit. This is what came out earlier today. So we know Manchester United need a left back. Ben Jacobs hinted on the show last week that we could go more for a right back. Interesting, but we need a right back and a left back. I think Manchester United have to go and get two fullbacks this summer. That is where my expectations are. That's where my standards are. I think it's a massively important part of the starting 11. And I think Manchester United aren't contributing as much as we would need to at a top-level team that's wanting to compete. They're huge in the defensive side of the game, but I think people sometimes forget how important they are from the attacking side of the game as well, especially when you're playing with a striker like Benjamin Sesko, who's going to be feeding off them crosses into the box. You need top-level fullbacks. So this has come out from, multiple different reports coming out this morning that Liverpool are right in there to sign a left-back this summer. And these are the targets they're looking at. So Fulham and USA left-back Anthony Robinson favours a move to Liverpool over Manchester United this summer. Both clubs are in the market for reinforcements in this position, with Liverpool looking to replace Andy Robertson, and United are planning for life without Luke Shaw in the coming seasons. Robinson could be available for £25 million. I know Robinson has absolutely been scouted by Manchester United in the past. However, as good as he is, I never thought we were going to go for him because of his age. Anthony Robinson, if I'm not mistaken, he's 28 years old. I think he'll be 29 by the time he starts next season. I'd be open to signing a fullback at that age. I absolutely would. I'd be open to signing Munoz. I'd be open to signing Ryerson. I would be open to it. But Manchester United seem to like to go for younger players that have that sell-on value that they're not paying for with no sell-on value for the future. I think you should go for players of that age range because they're ready now. They're ready to come and compete now. Anthony Robinson is absolutely ready to go and play now. And you're going to get the money back in terms of the quality and the output they're going to give you for the next 4 or 5 years. 3 or 4, 4 or 5 years, depending on how long they last at that top level. And you get the experience. So I think it's actually a good thing to buy players at the 27, 28 mark, personally, because you get the best of them, you get the experienced version of them, and you get that money back in their performances. So I would go for it. I don't think Manchester United were ever going to go for Anthony Robinson, but if it was for 25 million, they might take a punt because of the price. It's not too high. And then also it was coming out that Federico Dimarco is a huge target for Liverpool in the summer. The left-back would love to seek a challenge in the Premier League and would be open for a move. And every time I've spoken about Dimarco, I've had comments saying he's not good enough at defending. I think it really depends on how you play. Trent Alexander-Arnold got them comments all the time. He wasn't good enough at defending, and yet he was absolutely pivotal in Liverpool's attack. You want a fullback that can do both. That is the ideal. For example, Tino Livramento, he does both. A Reece James, he does both. You want a fullback that Lewis Hall, he does both. You want a fullback that can get forward really well and also defend really well. I think it depends what style of play that you want to play, but Dimarco, from an attacking output point of view, he's going to give you so much going forward. I'd be up for that. I really do like Dimarco. I think he'd be a quality signing, but I know some people would be a little bit cautious about the defensive side to the game, which I can sort of understand. But don't forget, right, in Serie A, they take their defending very, very seriously. Very seriously. It's a big part of the game. So I think people underestimate, just because he's very good at going forward, that he can do some of the defensive work as well. I mean, people said we shouldn't have signed Aït-Nouri as a left-back because he's more of a wing-back and had played left wing for Wolves. Aït-Nouri can defend really well. I've seen him. Yeah, he's very good at the attacking side of the game. You can do it. Just because, Dorgu's been playing left wing for Manchester United, yet he can play as a left back as well. You have players that can do both, and I think Dimarco's a very exciting option. Again, got experience that he can bring, can go straight into the team. But Manchester United, we're going to be competing on all fronts with some top teams this summer. Liverpool, are they going to get Champions League? If they don't, that's a massive advantage for Manchester United. But let's be honest, they probably are going to. It's looking like both Manchester United and Liverpool will get Champions League. So you're looking at the likes of the midfield, you've got Arsenal, you've got City to compete with, and then now you're looking at the fullback situation. It looks like City's going to go for Livramento, but you're looking towards left backs, and you've got Liverpool looking in that area as well. So it's going to be a competitive summer for Manchester United. And are we ready? That's the question I would ask. Are Manchester United ready to fight on all fronts for multiple different targets in a World Cup year and do multiple different deals at the same time when you've got competition? Are we ready to do it? Because a lot of the times with deals we have completed and pulled off, good deals as well, and I don't want to put them down, but it's a lot of the time it's been like a bit of a one-horse race, and we've managed to do them deals taken our time with it. With the Mbeumo deal, there absolutely was other clubs interested. Spurs wanted to sign him. There was talks about Arsenal going in for him. But what Manchester United got Mbeumo to do is clarify and basically make it known to Brentford it's only Manchester United. So Brentford then couldn't really negotiate with the other clubs because Mbeumo saying I'm only going to Manchester United. So they got the player to make it a one-horse race. I don't think we'll be able to do that with everyone. Like, you're going to have to compete. And there will be fans and there will be viewers and there will be people out there that say, well, we should only want players that want to come to Manchester United. And I get that point of view. I love it when a player wants to come to Manchester United. Like I said, when Mbeumo turned up to Manchester United in a suit to sign for us, I loved it. I love it so much. Like, you want players that want to play for you. However, we're talking about elite level professional football here, and when you want the top quality players, there is going to be other clubs interested, and not every single player is a United fan growing up. Do you know what I mean? Like, Elliot Anderson is a boyhood Newcastle fan. He's not going to be on his knees saying, please, Manchester United, I want to go to you because I've always watched you and loved you growing up. When there's City coming in, when there's Chelsea coming in, when there's Manchester United coming in, it's going to be a big decision around his future and where he can be the most successful version of himself and win the most trophies. It's going to be competitive, and can Manchester United do it? And as well as that, we've got to get a manager. And that's just where I'm a little bit worried, because we're going to be behind presenting a project to players because we can't tell players who our manager is as of yet. That might change very soon, but as of yet, we can't tell them who our manager is going to be. It's going to be massively dependent on Champions League football, which is looking like we're going to get it, but I don't want to talk too soon. And also, it's going to depend on whether we can do multiple deals at the same time. And that's something that I don't think Manchester United have done. To my knowledge, when was the last time that Manchester United did multiple deals at the same time? It's very hard for me to remember that. I know the last time we sort of competed with a club, I think it was with Benjamin Sesko, wasn't it, with Newcastle? But Newcastle fans, again, they won't like me, but competing with Newcastle is different to competing with Liverpool, City and Arsenal. It is very, very different. So we'll have to see how the summer plays out. Amit says, Beth, can you pour thoughts on Bruno Fernandes and if he stays? I think Bruno will stay if we get Champions League football. I've said that multiple times. If he doesn't, then don't shoot the messenger. It's just my opinion. He's not told me directly. But I think if we get Champions League football, Bruno will stay. We also have Mr. Miracle saying, I love Dimarco's style. He would have been perfect for wing-back. In a back four, he severely lacks defensively, unless we look to convert him into hybrid winger with Dorgu behind him. That could be interesting. We have Amit says, United need two midfielders. United need to enter summer transfers like cuffing season. Unsure what that means, Amit, if you could follow up. The Moose one says, regardless of who comes in, coach, manager, teammates, the only way forward is now. Last season has taught us failure. Now look, so progressive. But from here, the next objective, without being so obvious, is to stay up top. Next title. I love the optimism. I absolutely love the optimism, and that sort of transitions me on to the next point. People ask me this all the time. Do you think Manchester United can compete for the Premier League next season if they have a good summer? Things can change very quickly in football, that's what I will say. Do I see Manchester United winning the Premier League title next season? No. Please change my mind. I'm one of the most optimistic Manchester United fans, but I just think Arsenal, City, even Liverpool, I know they've had an off year, they've just got more experience in competing in them Premier League title races than Manchester United has over recent years. However, if Manchester United have an amazing summer, and I'm talking about absolutely shock us in the best possible way, go and get Elliot Anderson from under City's feet, go and sign, another quality midfielder as well, like a Bruno Guimaraes, and go and get two quality fullbacks, a left winger, we are bang in it. But will United be able to pull that off as well? And I think this is probably the most important part about it all, as well as getting the right manager and making the right decision on the manager. You're asking for a lot. You are asking for a lot from a club that notoriously hasn't got it all right. No club does. But the only time recently where I can say that was, really well done, like, that's a club that is going places, was the summer transfer window. I thought we had a really good summer transfer window, apart from dropping the ball on a midfielder. like I said, no club gets it 100%. And Mbeumo, Cunha, Sesko and Lamens was a very, very good transfer window. But we've had some howlers of decisions in recent times. I mean, Amorim as a whole, that whole debacle was poor. The way we handled Ten Hag was poor. The Dan Ashworth thing was poor. And windows before that, hits and misses. A lot of misses. When Ineos came in that summer, when we got De Ligt, Lenny Yoro, Xerxes, and I think we got someone else who I'm missing, Mazraoui, like good but not amazing, you know, hits and misses. That summer transfer window of Mbeumo, Cunha, Sesko, Lamens, that was fantastic. But apart from that, we've not really shown how we're operating as an elite level football club, making the right decisions, being aggressive in the market, doing everything we can, being bullish, going out there and getting the best to compete. We don't look like a football club that is absolutely desperate to win the Premier League again by the way that we are moving with some of these footballing decisions at the highest level. That's just from my opinion. I see City going signing James Trafford and then seeing Donnarumma come on the market and saying, sorry, James, I know that you were going to come in to be our first choice keeper, but the best keeper in the world just come on the market. We're going to go and get him. Really sorry, but that's just the way that we run. They are relentless. Guehi and Semenya in January, Premier League proven, elite players. Go and get them. Relentless. Already lining up Elliot Anderson, who's coming this summer, the best midfielder in that position in the Premier League, one of the best at the moment. We'll go and get him, he's available. Like, they just move. It's such an elite level, and I don't like to say it because they are rivals, of wanting to consistently win and compete. I need to see Manchester United move that way to say we can win and compete in... I mean, if you're talking about next season, we'd have to do a lot in this summer window to be there. But I like the optimism, and I would love more than anything for Manchester United to just go and do the business that we need to be done, go and get the best possible manager, and for us to really, you know, start to compete, because we've got some players there that can do it. I believe we've got the foundations of a good squad that can start to compete at a much higher level. But we need a lot of transfers as well to make it happen. We need squad depth. And we will be shocked next season when we're playing Champions League football, if we get it, which I hope we will, and Premier League football, and we're wanting to compete with us. We've got to make big squad additions because we've just not got the fitness and the squad to do it at all. But anyway, yeah, thank you for putting that super chat in and having your opinion. And that brings me on to my last little segment of the show. And I want you to all get involved on this. Before you do so, smash a like on the video, everyone. It really does help. Share the video about. My last little segment I wanted to bring in as sort of a finisher to be like interactive with everyone and see where we're at is I wanted to go through Manchester United's current starting 11. So basically Manchester United's most played current starting 11 in the Premier League as of this season, player by player. Are they good enough to be starting for Manchester United and winning the Premier League in the next 3 years? It's just a bit of a game because I think it shows us where we're at in terms of the quality of our squad. Is this player good enough within the next 3 years to be in a starting Manchester United team that wins the league, or is on the cusp of winning the league? Let's talk about it like that. And let's see what you guys think. So I'm going to go through it. I'm just going to get up our starting 11. I mean, I could get it off the top of my head, to be honest with you, but I'll make sure I get every player correct here. Let's go through Manchester United. Let's get our team up. Okay. So, I mean, before that, by the way, everyone, do be aware that we have a jam-packed week on That's Football. Tomorrow, we start the evening with an early kick-off, Galatasaray versus Liverpool. Goldbridge will be doing the watch-along for that, a 5:45 kick-off on That's Football. And then we will switch over to another big game, which is Newcastle versus Barcelona at 8 p.m. I'm so excited for that one. Games we will be looking forward to, hopefully, next season if we're in the Champions League. And then on Wednesday evening, we have a double-header, Leverkusen versus Arsenal and Real Madrid versus Man City. Two big 8 p.m. games right there for you to get your teeth into. And then on Friday, we have Bundesliga. We have Mönchengladbach versus St. Pauli at the usual time of 7:30 kickoff. Not just a watch-along, you watch the game on That's Football as well with Goldbridge. It'll be a cracker. And then this weekend on Saturday, Mark will bring you both Chelsea versus Newcastle and Arsenal versus Everton matches at 5:30 p.m. and the 8 p.m. match, which is West Ham versus Manchester City. And then you know what we're finishing on Sunday. It is a huge clash in the race for Champions League football. Manchester United versus Aston Villa. Both teams, such a massive game, such an important game. Michael Carrick looking to bounce back with a win after his first loss as Manchester United manager, and Aston Villa need to get some form together if they're hoping to solidify Champions League football. At Old Trafford, we'll be live from countdown to kick-off from 12 p.m. Kobbie's doing the watch-along as well at 1:30 with all the post-match stuff on the United stand. So loads of football to lock into this week. Make sure you stay tuned throughout it all. Anyway, starting off, get your yes or your no's in the comments. Within the next 3 years, is this player good enough to be in a starting Premier League winning side for Manchester United? Starting off, we have Senny Lemens. Senny Lemens, do you think he's good enough? Yes or no? Instantly, we've got a little bit of a mix coming in. I'm seeing probably about 90% of you guys saying yes there in the comments. So about 90% of you guys saying yes, he is. There's a few no's. I would say he absolutely is good enough. He's not the most glitz and glam keeper you will ever see currently. He's not always pulling off the most ridiculous saves. However, he does what needs to be done. And at 23 years of age, I think he's been absolutely phenomenal since he's come into Manchester United. And I'm really, really happy with his development. Proper proved himself in that Everton game as well. Don't get me wrong, I knew he was good before the Everton game, but in that Everton game at the Hill Dickinson, I thought, you know what, this is a keeper that can comfortably take us through. He really showed up to that top level of getting your team out of trouble, being someone who the team can rely upon, and I think he's got all aspects of his game nailed. He might need to improve in certain aspects as time goes on, but I think he does the basics absolutely excellently, and he's reliable, he's cool, he's calm, he's collected. I think he would be a yes. You know, when you get the basics done well, that's the most important foundation. So I would say yes. Also, we have goalkeeper in the gallery. Do you think he is? Greg said he's raw, but he thinks he can do it. So yeah, I would say yes to Lemens. Next up, we have Diogo Dalot at right back. I think I know what the opinions are going to be on this one. And yeah, instantly, a lot of people are saying no. And I would agree with you guys. Look, I think Diogo Dalot, his mentality, the way he works, his leadership, I think they're all important attributes to be a squad player. He's not consistent enough. When you get the best Diogo Dalot, he's a good player, but he's not consistent enough to be a starter in a Premier League winning side, in my opinion. When you're looking to win the Premier League, you need a player that's going to turn up week in, week out, and you can't rely on Dalot to do so. So for me, Dalot becomes a squad player in a Premier League winning Manchester United side. Next up, we have, I'm going to go with De Ligt. I know he's injured, but I'm going to say De Ligt because he would be our starting right-sided centre-back for the future. So, De Ligt, yes or no? Oh, it's quite mixed on De Ligt. I would say it would be a lot of yeses and a few nos. De Ligt, for me, if he can stay fit, I would say it's a yes. Before he got injured, I thought he was one of the best performing centre-backs in the Premier League this season. But I'm just very worried about that back injury. So if he can stay fit, I would agree with you guys. It would be a yes. However, he does seem a little bit injury prone, and you've got to have players that are fit and available if you're going to be consistent throughout a season. Like, it massively affects you. It really does. Like, if Saliba or Gabriel were out for 5-6 months of a season, they wouldn't go and win the Premier League. Like, it's so important. So De Ligt would have to stay fit. Next up, we have Lisandro Martinez at left-sided centre-back. This is a tough one for me with Leacher, because I think when Leacher's at his best, he's absolutely good enough. He's absolutely good enough when he's at his best. But, you know, we've seen little peaks and troughs of Leacher over his time at Manchester United. My chat's just gone off. Where have we gone? Okay, here we go. 50-50. 50-50, say you guys. Look, I think if Lisandro Martinez is at his absolute best, I think he could. But it's a tough one for me because I'm looking at the likes of, you know, Gabriel, Van Dijk when he was at his best, and I think there is still that little bit of gap between Leacher and them and that calibre of player. But I think he's got it in him. Next up, we have left back, Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw, yes or no? I mean, I'm pretty sure what the response is going to be. Look, for me with Luke Shaw, he's just... I think he's a good quality player. I think he's a really good quality player. However, I think at the later stages of his career where he's at now, he just can't get forward the way that we need our left back to get forward. I think we want our left back to be up and down, physicality, big engine, swinging crosses into the box, and I just don't feel like he's got that in his locker. I think injuries have derailed him, and I just don't think he's got the ability to get up and down like prime Roberto Carlos used to do, and we need a player that's going to be able to do that. So for that, I would go with no, the same way as you guys would. Next up, when we come into the midfield, Casemiro is leaving. So I'm not even going to put Casemiro in here because he's leaving. Ugarte. And I think we can move on from that one pretty quickly. And this is why we need midfield signings, because Ugarte is a no. Ugarte is not going to be able to hold a midfield for a Premier League winning side. He's not. Not at all. Like, he can't even hold a midfield for a team that's competing to get into the Champions League. So he's not going to be able to do it for a team that's competing for the Premier League. So you would straight away say no on that one and move on, and it shows exactly why that midfield signing is so important. Next up, you have Kobbie Mainoo. This one I'm excited to see. Kobbie Mainoo. Get your yes or your no's into the comments. Ooh. Okay, so it's so split. We've got yeses, no's, yeses, no's. Do you know what it is for me with Kobbie? I think people forget he's only 20 years old. I think within the next 3 years, he could be. I think as of now, you need competition for that place. I think he's on the brink. I think Kobbie Mainoo is on the brink. I don't think he is necessarily a nailed-on starter for a Premier League winning side now. However, I do think the amount of potential and the ability and the talent this lad has got, I think he needs to be starting games. I think he needs to be playing games. But I don't think that whole position should be on his shoulders. I think you need someone to sort of be that experience that can come in and they can sort of share that role. That's where I would be at with Kobbie Mainoo. So I think Kobbie needs competition, but I think he can absolutely be part of a Premier League winning squad for Manchester United and play a big part in that and play a big part in it. Next up, we have Bruno Fernandes. For me, he's the most nailed-on player in this team that is capable of winning a Premier League. He deserves to win a Premier League. I'll be gutted if he leaves Manchester United without winning a Premier League, and time is ticking. And this is why I think if Manchester United get Champions League football, they have got to throw absolutely everything but the kitchen sink at doing an insane summer transfer business, get the right manager, get Bruno tied down for the last years of his career, and go do everything you can to win a Premier League within the next 3 or 4 years. And it'll be very, very difficult. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It never is. But if you do the right business, there is some players there that you can build with. Bruno Fernandes being the main one. And it just doesn't sit right with me that Bruno could leave Manchester United without winning a Premier League, and I'd love him to do so. So for me, Bruno is an absolute yes. There is some people that say no. But the majority in the chat are saying yes. Next up, we have Bryan Mbeumo. Is Bryan Mbeumo good enough to be a starter to win the Premier League? For me, I would say yes. I think he's another player that is absolutely good enough to win the Premier League. I know his form has dropped off in the last couple of weeks, just like everyone's has. But look, form is temporary, class is permanent. Of course, you want, consistent players when you're going for a Premier League title. However, I think he's proved how good he is in the Premier League. He's proved it at Brentford. We took to a duck to water coming into Manchester United. I think he's had a little dip over the last few weeks, but that's only normal. I really do think he's one of the top attacking players in the Premier League, and he's absolutely good enough to be in a side that can win the Prem. Personally, I think what he can bring to a side is so important, so I would say yes. Next up, you have Cunha. Matues Cunha. Do you think he's good enough to win a Premier League in a starting 11? With Cunha, for me, I don't know if there's a nailed-on position for Cunha, but I think he could be absolutely vital in part of a Premier League winning squad. That moment he provided off the bench against Arsenal at the Emirates, that's what Cunha can do for you. That's the points he can win for you. And I'm not saying he's always going to be a starter in a Premier League winning Manchester United side, but he absolutely can be part of it. And I think he'll be vitally important to do so. So I don't actually know where his position would be, but I massively think he would be crucial in a Premier League winning side for Manchester United. His personality, his aggression, what he brings to the side, I think it'd be top. And then last but not least, we have Benjamin Sesko. So get your opinions in on Benjamin Sesko. Let's see what you guys think on that one. A lot of yeses coming into the chat. Look, I'll finish with this. If Benjamin Sesko is leading the line for when Manchester United wins a Premier League, I will not be surprised at all. If Victor Gyökeres can win a Premier League, stand up front for Arsenal, Benjamin Sesko can win a Premier League, stand up front for Manchester United, I think he's still raw. I think you absolutely need squad depth there to help him out, the likes of Ahmad and Mbeumo and Cunha. But I do think he will be a big, big player for Manchester United in the future, and I think he is absolutely capable of it. A few people want me to do Ahmad. He's not currently part of the starting 11, but I'll say Ahmad. Do you think Ahmad you can win a Premier League with Ahmad? Get your comments in. Smash a like on the video as well. I've gone way over time, by the way, doing this, but I think it's been a fun thing for us all to you can show where Man United's at, and what I can tell while you're voting for Ahmad is that the big areas that Manchester United need to invest their money in the summer, and it's a good exercise to do, is midfield, because we don't have a midfield, basically. Fullbacks, both fullbacks got voted that we need new fullbacks, so midfield and fullbacks. And left wing, because we don't know if, we know Cunha's good enough as a player, but we don't know which position that's going to be in, which is all areas that Manchester United need to target. In terms of Ahmad, yeah, a lot of people are saying that he is good enough. And I think as part of a Premier League winning squad, he absolutely is. And he's still got levels to go up, Ahmad. He's still got levels to go up. But look, everyone, that was a fun, interactive way to end the show. And it sort of reminds you where Manchester United's weaknesses are within the squad and where we need to get improvements. And look, there's going to be a big, big, big battle in the summer for some transfers. Even Gibbs White, who have been linked to, he's apparently, being looked at by Liverpool. There's going to be a big battle for a lot of players. So strap in. Let us know in the comments who your midfield alternatives would be. Let me know which positions you would go for. Have a lovely rest of your week, everyone, and I will see you on the next one.